Hey everyone, welcome to part 8 of the SHSAT Math 2022 review. We are on question 105, so let's get started. So we have a fraction that corresponds to an infinitely repeating decimal, and we're told that 7 is the first digit in the repeating pattern, and we want to know what the 391st digit is. Okay, so it looks like basically these 6 digits are repeating. That's what's implied by this. So we know that, for example, 7 appears as the first digit. It's going to appear as the 7th digit, right? So this is going to be a 7. It's going to appear as the 7 plus 6 is 13, etc., etc. So we know that. Let's look at let's look at 6 divided by 391 and look at the remainder. So this would be 6, 36, 31. It's going to be 65 with a remainder of 1, right? So if we look at this first position, 6 divided by 1, right? This is going to be a remainder of 1. So the places where you have a remainder of 1 when divided by 6, those are the places where you're going to have a 7. And so when you divide 6 by 391, you get something with a remainder of 1. So that means that at the 391st digit, you're going to have a 7. And so that's going to be D. Okay, so 106, a car travels at 4,400 feet per minute. The radius of each tire is 1 foot. How many revolutions does one of these tires make in 1 minute? Okay, so we know that the circumference of the tire times the number of revolutions must be equal to the distance traveled, right? And we know this because, like, let's say you have a circumference of the wheel 2, right? So one rotation of the wheel is going to propel you. If the circumference of this, let's say the circumference of the wheel is 2, right? If this wheel rotates once, it's going to propel you 2 meters forward, right? And then if it rotates again here, if it does another revolution, it's going to propel you another 2 meters forward. So basically, if you take the circumference of the wheel times the number of revolutions of that wheel, you're going to get the distance traveled. So given that fact, we know that the distance traveled is 440 feet in a minute, right? Okay, so the radius of each tire is 1 foot, and so circumference is 2 pi r. So the circumference of the wheel is going to be 2 pi times 1, which is 2 pi, and that'll be in feet. So we said that the distance traveled is equal to the circumference times the number of revolutions. And the number of revolutions is what we're trying to solve for, right? So we just have to solve for the revolutions. So the revolutions is going to be 4,040 divided by 2 pi, right? And we're being told to use this in approximation of pi. So that would be 2 times 22 over 7. This is going to be 4,400 times 7 over 44. So this is going to be 700. So that would be E. Okay. So now on to 107. So let's take a look at this expression. So we have 100 times 2 plus 0.1 squared minus 100. So this is sort of like an order of operations thing. So we first have to go inside the parentheses. So it would be 100 times 2.1 squared minus 100. Next we have to do this square operation. So it would be 100, and then 2.1 squared, I think you can check that multiplication, but I think that it would be, let's see, actually I have to do it. It would be 21 plus, right, so it would be 441. So, but then 2.1 squared would be 4.41. Right, you can check that yourself. Minus 100. Okay, now we do this multiplication. And what this ends up doing is, since you're multiplying 100 by this, it shifts the decimal 2 places to the left, or to the right. So you get 441 minus 100. And that would be 341. Right, you do multiplication before subtraction. Okay, so now 108. So a sports store has a container of handballs. We have some blue, red, yellow, white, and green. And one ball is picked from the container at random, and we want to know what the probability is that it'll be yellow. So there are 8 yellow balls, and there are 4 plus 5 plus 8 plus 9 plus 11 total balls. So the probability of a yellow is going to be 8 over 37, right, if you add these up. So that would be G. Yeah. Okay, now on to 109. So each week Leon has fixed expenses of 1,250 at his furniture shop. It costs him $150 to make a chair in the shop, and he sells each chair for $275. And we want to know what his profit is if he makes and sells 25 chairs in 1 week. Okay, so he has fixed expenses of 1,250. So that's a negative cost, right? Or negative profit, you could think of. And then he makes and sells 25 chairs, and he makes 275 by selling those chairs, but it costs him $150 to produce them. So this is sort of like the cost. This is the profit that he makes from each chair. Right, it's the revenue he gets minus the cost, and then you have to multiply that by the number of chairs that he makes, and finally you have to subtract the fixed costs that he must incur. Okay, so let's actually evaluate that. So that would be 25 times 125 minus 1250. Now this, let's see. Sorry, I'm just taking a shortcut, but you could evaluate this. I think that's, I really should know this. Okay, what is 25 times 25? 501. Yeah, okay, so plus 625. That's 3125. So it would be 3125 minus 1250, and that is here, let's see. So 5, 2, 10, 7, 8, 1. Okay, yeah. So that's going to be your profit, total profit, and that is A. Okay. So now 110, using the approximation 2.54 centimeters to 1 inch. How many centimeters are in 4 feet 7 inches? Okay, so 4 feet 7 inches, this is, so there are 12 inches in a foot times 4 feet plus 7 inches. So that's 48 plus 7, which is 55 inches, right? So I'm just saying that 4 feet 7 inches is 55 inches. So now we can use a proportion, right? So we know 2.54 centimeters to 1 inch, and we know 55 inches, and we want to know how many centimeters that corresponds to. Okay, so we cross multiply and we get that the question mark is equal to 2.54 times 55. And if you were to evaluate that, I think that you would get H. And the reason sort of why I know that off the top of my head, a shortcut, is because this first multiplication of digits, it would be 2, 0. So the whatever it is, it has to end in 0. So that's why I would say H. Okay. So now on 11, so on the number line above, JK is 3 1/2. So that we're talking about the length of that segment. JM is 9 3/4, and LM is 1 1/8. What is the position of point L? Okay, so let's think about this. Okay, so we know that this is J, this is M, right? This is 9 3/4. And we know that LM, so LM, we know this length, right? We know the length of JM. So LM is 1 1/8. And okay, wait, and then we also know JK, right? We know this, right? We're told that here. So that's 3 1/2. So we can sort of, from this, we can find the length of KL, right? So KL is just going to be JM, so the whole length, and then minus JK plus LM, right? So we're taking sort of, so let me sort of simplify this a little bit. So we know the length of JM, we know the length of JK, we know the length of LM. So from this, we can therefore, so to find the length of KL, we just take the length of JM and we subtract out the length of JK plus the length of JM. So now we just start substituting values. So JM is going to be 9 3/4. And then minus, so JK is 3 1/2. Plus LM, which is 1 1/8. Okay, and so now we can sort of simplify this. So this would be 9 6/8 minus 4 5/8. So this would be 5 1/8, which is the length of KL. Okay, so if the length of KL is 5 1/8, then we can find the position of point L, right? Because it's just 3/8. So L would just be 3/8 plus 5 1/8. And this would just be 5 4/8, which is just 5 1/2. So that would be C. Okay, so now 112. So let's erase this. So if 4x minus 3y is equal to 12, what is x in terms of y? So we're solving for x basically. So we have 4x minus 3y is 12. So now we want to solve for x. So we add 3y. So 4x is equal to 12 plus 3y. So then x is equal to 12 plus 3y over 4. And this is going to be 3 plus 3 over 4y. And that would be this. Alright. So now we're going to do 113. So we have servings of fruit and vegetables. And then the number of students. So there are 20 students in a class, and we have a frequency table which shows the number of students in the class who ate a certain number of servings of fruits and vegetables. And we want to know what the mean number of servings of fruit and vegetables is eaten yesterday per student. So if we actually look at this table, so basically we're finding a mean, right? We're finding the mean number of fruits and vegetables eaten. So I'm going to do the work over here. So we have mean is equal to, remember our formula, right? It's total fruit eaten, right? Fruit and V eaten over number of students. Okay, so the number of students is going to be 20, right? And then the total fruit eaten, so there are 5 students which ate 0 fruit, 7 students which ate 1, 3 students which ate 2, 4 students which ate 3, 0 students which ate 4, and 5 students which ate 1. So then the mean would be equal to 0 plus 7 plus 6 plus 12 plus 0 plus 5 over 20. And this would be 30 over 20, which is 3 over 2, which is 1 1/2. Okay, now on to the last question. Okay, so we have a paste that's being used to cover a billboard, and it's made by mixing the following ingredients. So we have 4 parts powder, 3 parts water, 2 parts resin, 1 part hardener. To cover one billboard requires 30 pounds of this paste. How many total pounds of resin are required to cover 4 billboards? So let's simplify this question and ask how many pounds of resin are required to cover one billboard, right? And then we can multiply by 4. So to cover one billboard requires 30 pounds of this paste. So we have 30 pounds of this paste, and we can multiply it by the fraction of the paste that is made of resin, right? So it's 2 parts resin to the total amount of parts in the paste, which is 4 plus 3 plus 2 plus 1, right? So basically we're saying, okay, it requires 30 pounds of paste, and then times the fraction of that paste, which is resin, gives me the amount of the number of pounds of resin that is used to cover that billboard. So this would be 30 times 2 over 10, which is 6 pounds, right? 6 pounds of resin. So we use 6 pounds of resin to cover that billboard. So therefore 6 times 4, or 24 pounds, would be used to cover 4 billboards, right? So I just multiplied like the 30 pounds by the fraction that was composed of resin to get that. Yeah. Okay, and so that finishes our test, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. Oh, and make sure to subscribe. All right, thank you.